Good evening. My name's Tom Stoukas, coming to you from Sarnia, Ontario. Hope everybody is having a nice night. Tuesday, July 15th, the middle of the summer. And today was another hot one. Gross, hot, shitty air. We're among the worst air in the world. Again, top 5, I think, because of this wildfire business. So it looks like this is going to be the summer of the wildfire, dirty air wildfire. So we've officially become a third world country. Not only are we all broke, well, most of us, we're surrounded by third world immigrants. Now we got the third world air. We've got the trifecta. We've achieved so much in Canada here. Yeah, and it's supposed to be again tomorrow, hot, right till Thursday, so it's gonna be gross. It's not just hot, it's gross hot. Like you can't even sit on the patio because the air, like after about 10 minutes, you're just like, okay, I'm going back inside, which is shitty because I remember last year I was like out on the patio all the time. Like I basically lived out there. So that's it. Yeah. I'm going to try and do a little more organized format here. Stick to one topic at a time. So, the daily recall today. What are the topics on my timeline? Mass immigration destroying Canada. Always makes the list. And I thought maybe it's just me cherry picking the social media, or the algorithm is tossing me all these to make me an anti-immigrant, a hater, whatever. But I look on the news here, and it's the same on the news. Like it's the same characters getting charged for crazy ass scams and crimes, and lots of people that aren't even Canadian citizens getting busted for like serious offenses and then getting released on bail and then getting easier sentences so that doesn't affect their immigration status. I've seen a lot of that. So, yeah, a lot of bad stuff happening. And then apparently Canada's public safety minister, Gary Annan, I can't pronounce his name. He's a Sri Lankan and they got this crazy ass long last names. And he's in the news again. He made the news a few weeks ago because he didn't know nothing about his job, gun laws, gun permits, gun courses, safety courses. He got called out in Parliament because he didn't do any research or preparation for his role as public safety minister. Now there's another controversy because he used to be lawyer in tight with the Tamil Tigers, which is a kind of like a group from Sri Lanka that were fighting the other group in Sri Lanka, and it was a really bloody civil war, and they got a big presence at Tamil Tigers in Toronto, and they did a lot of fundraising in Canada. Very well organized community. But he's our public safety minister, and apparently he was writing letters to get Tamil Tiger members let into Canada, even though they were technically classified as terrorists. But, you know, they help each other out, I guess. He's a public safety minister. And that goes to my thing I said before about not having foreign-born MPs or foreign-born cabinet ministers. We're the only country that really, it's just crazy how many foreign-born MPs and cabinet ministers we have compared to other Western countries. UK is starting to catch up. They got a lot of that going on too, and it's not good because it opens up a whole thing of like the foreign interference, foreign entanglements, foreign beefs. The MPs spend more time on foreign issues than they do on their constituents and their ridings. And then finally, what's going on the timeline is Epstein, of course. The Epstein files. or lack thereof, and still going on. And there's a lot of some influencers, like the pro-Israel influencers, are saying, "Move along, nothing to see here." And there's still like the stubborn right-wing faction that doesn't want to let it go, wants Trump to keep his promise to release the details of Epstein's client list. And we know there is. Like, come on. The guy was like all over the place. So still lots of fallout on that, affecting Trump's popularity. And still, like, they're really trying to get the subject changed, so much so that Trump is giving more missiles and weapons to Ukraine, and he wants them to bomb Moscow, St. Petersburg, and who knows. And it's kind of convenient how they're doing this now when Trump's getting all this heat over Epstein. Now he's like, oh, let's do this neoconservative warmongering. That'll keep people's minds off the Epstein list. I don't know if that'll work. We'll see. So let's go with, and the Epstein thing is kind of like I'm doing a kind of a book review, which has a little bit relevant, quite relevant to the Epstein case. It's on the Mossad, the book, and some guy used to be in the Mossad wrote this book, and it's pretty crazy. I'm only in the first 15 pages, and it already sounds like, yeah, Mossad did Jeffrey Epstein. Like, there's the book. Hold on. Here's the book here. By Way of Deception, Devastating Insider's Portrait of the Mossad. And like I said, I only went 15 pages, and already I'm like, man, it totally could have done Epstein. It's totally up their alley. So we'll talk about that. I guess we'll talk about Epstein stuff first. The Epstein files. So Epstein. I guess you can roll Epstein into Israel, because we're all assuming that, that's who he was working for. And it makes sense. So, I'm going to talk about Israel then. Chris Selly. This is simple. Israel is a Canadian ally. It's perfectly reasonable to deny entry to someone who leads a chant of death to the IDF on that basis. Whether it's hate speech as defined in Canadian law, it's beside the point. So that Irish rap group Kneecap, they want to, of course, Jews are trying to ban them from Canada. But the part I took issue with is the Canadian ally. And I'm like, really? Why are they our ally? Like, all they've done is kill one of our soldiers. He was under a peacekeeping force in Lebanon. They knew he was there, and they still bombed him. And they didn't apologize. And our coward government, didn't say nothing. And also, what else has Israel done for us? They've helped create tens of thousands of refugees that have been absorbed into Canada, and probably tens of thousands more that will be, whether they're Palestinians, Lebanese, Syrian, Iraqi. A lot of them are here because of wars fought by Israel or supported by Israel. Like, Israel wanted U.S. to go to war in Iraq, and then destabilization of Syria. So, like, they're not really much of an ally to us. So watch it. So this is the book By Way of Deception. And I started reading this book, and already I can see how Mossad are totally capable of being behind a Jeffrey Epstein blackmail operation. Here's a thread of some interesting tidbits, again, only from the first 15 pages. Okay, I didn't know how to do my threads, but I'm going to do it right next time. I believe I did right here. Okay, this is it. The right thread. Oh no. Okay, here. Okay, the first bit. I was elated. This is the author of the book. I was elated when I was chosen, granted the privilege to join what I considered to be the elite team of the Mossad. But it was the twisted ideals and self-centered pragmatism that I encountered inside the Mossad, coupled with this so-called team's greed, lust, and total lack of respect for human life that motivated me to tell this story. Alright, so he's basically saying he went in, this guy, Victor Ostrowski went in, and he was like all idealistic, and he thought he was very happy, but he saw what the evil that took place, and that's what made him write the book. Again, I'm only 15 pages in, so I look forward to seeing what else he has to say. But right away, he's saying total lack of respect for human life, greed, lust. Yeah, total lack of respect. That's interesting. Next point. One of the main themes of the book is Victor's belief that the Mossad is out of control, that even the Prime Minister has no real authority over its actions and is often manipulated by it into approving or taking actions that may be in the best interest of those running the Mossad, but not necessarily in the best interest of Israel. So, yeah, basically he's saying Mossad's like this kind of like untethered animal, like it's not under any control, political control, and it basically does whatever it wants. And it actually uses the politicians, manipulates them. Obviously, they manipulate events, so politicians are reacting to it. Okay. Next. This one was interesting. Mossad has just 30 to 35 case officers or CATSAs operating in the world at any one time. So, like, unlike the CIA or KGB before the previous, whatever it's called now, but yeah, they're a lean, mean operation, the Mossad. Unlike other countries, Israel can tap the significant and loyal cadre of worldwide Jewish community outside Israel, of the worldwide Jewish community outside of Israel. This is done through a unique system of Sayanim. I don't know if I said that right. Volunteer Jewish helpers. So, yeah, basically, in the book, the first case of the Mossad was where they were getting this Iraqi nuclear scientist to give up all the secrets, and they got him. They befriended him. They befriended his wife. They basically tricked him. They got him into all these little business deals where he's making some money, put him up with some hookers, filmed him, all this. So they used a lot of the Jewish community in France to further their aims. So they weren't using Mossad agents, they were using Jewish people. Just Jewish people. So, for instance, the Iraqis were working with the French for a civilian nuclear reactor. France wanted to sell Iraq a civilian nuclear reactor in the 80s. And Israel was determined to find out what was going on. So a Jewish guy in France, so-called French Jew, who worked at the French nuclear facility, stole files on the Iraqis that were working there. And they basically left it. He left it in his car, and then the Mossad guys copied it and put it back. So they weren't missing. Anyway, he stole. So he's like acting like an agent of Mossad, but he's not an agent of Mossad. He's just a dude who works in a facility that happened to, be useful. He happened to be useful to Mossad, and he was recruited. I remember Gad Saad was saying about something like that happening to him, and he was saying he was joking, but this is exactly what it sounds like. So like when you hear Ben Shapiro, or you think he's been accused of being a Mossad. So technically he's not Mossad, he's one of these guys, a Jewish helper. And all sorts of businessmen, real estate agents, because like to set up like a fake household for cover, like all sorts of real estate agents, movie producers, journalists, doctors, whoever. They have like an international network of millions of Jews that help them. Well, I thought that was interesting. A unique system of volunteer Jewish helpers. All right, the next point. Mossad regularly use women to target subjects, including the case of the Iraqi nuclear scientist. So what they did was they became friends with him. They set him up. So they kind of like, it was like an innocent get to know you, and the next thing you know, they're friends. A rich guy posing as a rich guy was saying, "Oh, and I could use your advice on this, that," and he was handing them money. And anyway, of course, the women are another tool in the belt, in the toolbox of the Mossad. So I guess they set him up with a hooker, first of many hookers, and they videotaped it, of course. So this is again with the Epstein, kind of the Epstein MO. They videotaped it, and they use it not only for blackmail apparently, but to study the subject, to see what he says, see how he acts, what he does, and they even get like a psychiatrist or psychologist, whatever, to come in. Totally do a profile on their, like, they're really efficient. All right, so I thought the first 15 pages of this book, and it's really can see an Epstein Mossad operation, because it's so plausible deniability, because Epstein technically, if he's a part of this Psionim volunteer Jewish helpers system, he technically doesn't work for Mossad. He's just a Jewish helper. So, but he has resources that were maybe given to him by other Jewish helpers, not Mossad, other Jewish helpers. So Mossad, technically, you can say he wasn't Mossad. But, like I said, it doesn't prove anything, but what I'm saying, just reading this book, it can see how something like this is plausible. That's what I'm saying. So that's just first 15 pages of the book. I'll keep posting more excerpts as I go. I'm sure I'll find some other crazy relevant stuff that could apply to Epstein. So it should be interesting. I don't think that list is ever coming out. There's too many powerful people on it, unfortunately. I wish it would come out. I'm not going to say, "Oh, forget about it, guys." No, if it had to burn everything, I would still release it. That's my position. All right, so that was my little book report. So I'm really digging this book, though, and I got it at Goodwill for like $2, $3. And I'm like, yeah, boom, I'm buying it. It's like one of those instant take at the old thrift store. All right, let's see. Do we have any other thing on Epstein here? Oh, well, here's an Israel thing. Federal envoy urges Ontario to act on anti-Semitism in its public schools. It's like, yeah, it's so ridiculous. Like, yeah, let's go bug the kids for something they really probably don't care about. And if they do care about it, they probably don't like what Israel's doing. Like, so it's like maybe Israel should stop bombing babies and children, and then you wouldn't need to teach Ontario students about anti-Semitism. Ridiculous. Yeah, stop bombing babies and children. Israel. All right. All right. All right. Any more on oh, here's the thing about Ukraine. So Donald Trump asked Zelensky if Ukraine could hit Moscow, say people briefed on the call. So it's like, I think it's just a distraction. I think, like, if you've seen the movie Wag the Dog, it's about where a president starts a war because he's got a scandal, and so he starts a war to distract from the scandal. And Bill Clinton was accused of doing this during the Kosovo War with Monica Lewinsky, and it's called like the Wag the Dog move now, I guess, after that movie. But this seems a little fishy. Like, all of a sudden, what better way to get Epstein out of the news than start bombing Moscow and St. Petersburg? So yeah, very fishy. But we'll see. I don't know. Trump, I'm giving up trying to predict that guy. Okay. This little clip by Owen Schroyer was good. It kind of reminded me. It kind of felt the same way.
So I'll just go ahead and shoot
a
short video.
It's a good video, but he's saying basically it's a bizarre world because a year ago the Republicans were asking for the Epstein list. And the Democrats, or when the Democrats were in power, the Republicans were pushing, or the Republican voters were pushing for the Epstein list, and the Democrats were holding it. And now that the Republicans are in power, they're stopping the list from being released, and the Democrats want it released now. So it's kind of the roles reversed, and it's basically saying, I took that as to mean, like, basically if you're not in power, you can call for the Epstein list, but once you get into power, then you can't release the list. So it's kind of like that. That's how it's meant to work. We'll see. They say whoever's on that, it'll destroy everything. That's why we can't release it. I want to see it. It makes me want to see it even more. So here's the polls saying Trump's taking some hits from his base on this. Like, between his like pro Israel stuff and his like trying, like, almost getting into war with Iran, or still might get into a war with Iran, and then now this Epstein thing, you know, Trump may be taking some hits. I mean, he always used to brag how he could do whatever he wanted and people still vote for him. Maybe it's starting to chip away now. Independent Trump approval a week after inauguration, +6. Independent Trump approval now, -19. So a major part of Trump's new coalition are pissed. Yeah, we'll see. And this guy called it, the mishandling of the Epstein affair combined with the pivot to neocon foreign policy has been brutal. Yes. Basically, he's doing everything opposite of what he said he was going to do. He's going to stop the wars. He's going to release the list. Basically nothing. He's not doing any of that. Which is, you know, is what it is. And next. The last thing on the Epstein thing for today. Elon got out of Trump's inner circle just in the nick of time, huh? And I said this before, how it's kind of interesting how Elon got into a feud with Trump and said he was on the Epstein list just before all this kind of brouhaha over the Epstein list came out. So it's like, that's really weird timing. And did he dodge a bullet? Who knows? Because people were saying when he left, oh, he's screwed now, and oh, Elon's causing so many problems for himself, and he's going to ruin his companies. And you never know. Maybe he knew exactly what he was doing. He got out of that cesspool. All right. So we're going to pivot next from Epstein to Canada. And I know we could talk about the politicians. Mark Carney says they're going to plan to fight Trump's tariffs, but we'll probably have to suffer some tariffs. So usual Canadian incompetence. So we'll look at the mass immigration, and one of our mass immigrants, our public safety minister. Might as well just include him in with those immigration stories. Okay, first, this is gruesome. Okay, in India, bride burning, a form of dowry death, often involves setting women on fire with gasoline over disputes. In 2015, 7,634 dowry deaths were reported, 21 per day. Remarriage then occurs, and new dowries are then paid by the bride's family. Now in Canada. So yeah, Bruce is looking at this story. In BC, woman intentionally set on fire in Langley, BC. Police seek witnesses. 33-year-old woman suffered severe burns in what police believe was a deliberate attack on Saturday evening in Langley. Does not appear to be a random act. We believe the victim was deliberately exposed to an unknown substance resulting in serious burns. The incident has sparked concern in the community. Okay, let's see. Particularly among Indo-Canadian residents who have questioned whether the victim is of South Asian descent. Police have not confirmed the woman's ethnicity. Media waves received numerous calls from community members expressing concern that similar targeted attacks have occurred in South Asian countries in the past. So basically, yeah, is this dowry burning? Who knows? But it's just another example of, yeah, we're turning Canada into India. And as much as people say, oh, you're being racist, no, it's literally turning into India. Just the latest thing, what's it called? Bride burning. Yeah. Next. I saw this. Don Cherry, $100 bill. Although I don't know if that's worth anything anymore, the $100 bill, but with the poppy there. Yeah, Don Cherry was right. That's what I said. And the thing is, he was way ahead of he was saying that stuff in the 90s that people are saying today. He was like 30 years ahead of his time. And he was called all sorts of names for it. And when he got kicked off Hockey Night in Canada for saying the you people, I guarantee you, he's years ahead of his time. Even then. And, that's the way John Cherry talks. I mean, to destroy the guy's career over that stupid comment, it was ridiculous. And Ron MacLean, kind of represents the coward Canadians that we saw during COVID and with all this bullshit with the immigration and the globalists. All these liberal Canadians don't want to do anything. Ron MacLean is the perfect symbol of that. Those Canadians that just don't care if the country gets destroyed. or they're too afraid. Yeah, they did Don dirty. But he was right. All right. Next, here's our public safety minister. Born in, I think, Sri Lanka, or he's from Sri Lanka. Before joining cabinet, public safety minister, can't pronounce his name, wrote immigration support letters for a terror group member. So, at the time, the Tamil Tigers were considered a terrorist group. They did a lot of suicide bombings. Really brutal civil war in Sri Lanka, but of course. So before joining cabinet, public safety minister wrote immigration support letters for terror group member. So that happens a lot, like all our Indian MPs and Sri Lankan MPs and MPPs. They're very active on immigration files. Like, and a word of an MP can push an immigration file along really quickly. And I think this happens a lot. Before he was appointed to federal cabinet 2 years ago, Public Safety Minister Gary Anandasanajiri wrote letters urging Canadian officials to approve the immigration application of a man they had determined was a member of a terrorist organization. Written on the House of Commons letterhead, sent to Canada Border Services Agency on the behalf of an alleged member of Sri Lanka's Tamil Tigers who wanted to move to Toronto. Although Canadian immigration officials had repeatedly rejected him as an immigrant due to what they described as protracted involvement in the Tigers, Anandasanajiri asked him to reverse their decision. Okay. The Tigers remain on the list, on Canada's list of terrorist organizations. In his most recent letter to the Canadian Border Service, Gary said, I'm just going to call him Gary. Gary said the agency's refusal to grant Salvakumaran permanent residence, that separated the 48-year-old Sri Lankan from his Canadian wife and child, which the Toronto area MP called cruel and inhumane. So, anyway, that's what you got. You got people, MPs, foreign-born MPs and foreign-born cabinet ministers who are working diligently to get more of their family and friends into Canada. So that's their priority. Their priority is not inside Canada. How can we fix Canada? No, their priority is getting guys like this into the country. And I'm pretty sure this isn't the only letter he's written or the only letter other MPs, foreign MPs, have written. It's ridiculous. Next post here on the immigration file. Okay. Quebec has almost 1 million people waiting to see health specialists, not just waiting months, but years if they are considered low priority. Guess what CTV doesn't blame? Millions of immigrants our government flooded our country with, compounding the problem. Yeah, like, it's crazy. Like, oh, let's bring in millions of people who probably haven't been to a doctor very much their whole life. So they're going to do the full checkup when they come here. And not only that, they bring their 25 cousins and their 90-year-old grandma and grandpa who are obviously gonna need some doctors. So it's not just the housing situation, it's the health situation. And you're seeing it, like, there's a lot of grouchy, stressed out hospital staff. I'm sure there's going to be all sorts of problems going forward with just, trying to get a doctor or trying to get your whatever health thing. Adding millions of people to the country is not going to help it. Let's see what it says here.
More patients with more complicated cases. Plus Despite Santé Quebec's efforts to make the health system more efficient, the data shows wait lists are getting longer. Paul Brunet is a patients' rights advocate.
This is Quebec. I'm sure Ontario is just as bad.
In 2020, just over 500,000 Quebecers were on the wait list to see a specialist. That number has grown year after year, and as of May, there are now more than 900,000 people on the list. Dr. Rafiq Ghali is with the Federation of Quebec Medical Specialists.
I feel for the patients, mostly. I think that's what all doctors feel, which is we'd love to see those patients.
He says when a request for a consultation is submitted, the patient's condition is graded A through E, A being top priority, E being the least urgent cases. Each grade has a maximum delay before the patient must be seen, 3 days for A, all the way up to 1 year for E. Of the 900,000 currently on the wait list, nearly 2/3 have seen their deadline come and go.
Those are patients who have minor ailments. You know, if you can wait 3 months or a year, unfortunately, that usually means you can wait a little longer.
Santé Quebec says there are many reasons for the growing wait list. An
Aging population
means more patients with more complicated cases. Plus, the agency says there aren't enough specialists available.
Not enough specialists.
Ghali says add budget cuts and
Budget
shorter
cuts.
hours in clinic.
Shorter hours.
You get a system that is unable to meet demand.
We're
Okay.
still seeing a lot of patients, and you know what?
So they said budget cuts, lack of specialists, oh my God, older population, everything but immigrants.
The medical specialists want to do is see their patients. But it has become untenable.
Brunet says there are some quick fixes he'd like to see put in place right away.
A lot of specialists have gone private, and one of the solutions that apparently works in Ontario is that you fix by law the tariff, would it be private or public, so that we could use private specialists at the same tariff to help us out.
In the meantime, patients are left to wait as the list continues to grow.
So that's Quebec. I don't know. I haven't had to meet a specialist, so I don't know how Ontario is, but it's we have our issues here in Ontario too. So. I'm sorry, guys. I lost. Okay, here we go. Next one. This is a story. There's stories like this every day, but they're basically crazy stories of judges going easy on immigrants or non-Canadians. Because he's going easy on them because he doesn't want to screw up their immigration application. And there's lots of this going on. It's like that's their lawyer, the defense lawyer's main goal is to get them a good outcome or decent enough outcome that won't hurt their immigration application or get them deported. So here is Ontario resident tried to buy sex from what he thought was a 15-year-old. He was given a conditional discharge to help him stay in Canada. So yeah, this is kind of an outrageous story. Come on. All right. 2023. Akash Kumar Kant, 30, made the mistake of... Okay. Range of having sex with a 15-year-old on Mississauga Holiday Inn for $140. When he got there, the 15-year-old turned out to be a cop. He was arrested at the hotel and ended up in court. But he won't receive a criminal record for his actions, in part because of his immigration status. He was sentenced on June 25. Oh. Anyway. Stupid National Post. Anyway, he was basically given a lighter sentence by a judge so he wouldn't get deported. This happens a lot lately. And it's crazy. You know, in other countries, if you weren't a citizen and you did anything sex related, you'd be, or crime related, drug related, you'd be on the next plane out. They don't give a shit. Korea, I remember I was a English teacher in Korea, and the odd English teacher student, they're very against drugs in Asia. They don't like weed. And the odd time a English teacher, Canadian or American, would get busted with a doobie in Korea, they'd put him on the news, and then they'd kick him out of the country for a doobie. And here we are, we got these diddlers and rapists, and the judge is coddling them. Makes no sense. Unless they want Canada full of criminals and rapists, then it does make sense. All right, who's the next guy? Shahzad Shirzeh, arrested for sexually assaulting a 12-year-old girl. Okay, here's the story from the National Post on the 15-year-old. He's an engineer from India. Indian engineer. Imagine that. Tried to buy sex from what he thought was a 15-year-old in Mississauga. He was given a conditional discharge, so no criminal record, in part because the judge didn't want to disrupt his immigration prospects. So, horrible judge. And this is engineer, whatever, Indian doctors. Oh, we got to keep the doctors. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure most Indian doctors are incompetent, perverted, or both. All right? I think we can survive without the immigrants. If we get rid of millions of immigrants from the third world shitholes, then we won't need these Indian doctors. And I'm not trying to be mean, but trust me. If you have a choice of getting in a car and driving to a different hospital or getting a life-saving treatment from an Indian doctor, get in the car and drive. That's all I'm going to say. And this here is about our public safety minister. So tell me a Canadian MP twice wrote letters in support of a suspected terrorist moving to Canada, which CBSA recommended against. And that MP now is the Minister of Public Safety, responsible for CBSA, Canadian Border Services. Yeah, I didn't know I forgot he was responsible for that. So I'm sure he'll be getting lots of Sri Lankans into the country now. Canada's fucked. Resign. He should have resigned because he didn't know anything about guns. The guy going to implement the gun law didn't know nothing about guns. But when you have no shame, you don't resign. All right. I saw this today. Ottawa beaches open despite E. coli concern. I was like, oh, how long before Canadian beaches are totally destroyed? I'm not saying this E. coli thing is the Indian thing, but you've seen their rivers and beaches over there. How long? How long before that happens here? Next post. This is the burning woman in Langley. The new Canada here. Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll get more information on this one. Hopefully doesn't happen a lot, but import India, you get India. Even the weird bride burning stuff. Next. A 27-year-old man from Brampton has been charged with careless driving following a vehicle rollover. I wonder why no name has been released. Cambridge, Ontario. Yeah, like that's another thing you've seen a lot of a lot of bad Indian drivers, and especially truck drivers, but now even on the regular cars, they're filming themselves doing all sorts of stupid shit. So, I'm not saying this was an Indian, but it's a Brampton man, so. Next post. This is interesting. Canadian city subreddits. Women are reporting increasing harassment from foreign men. I get that it's cultural. Okay. So yeah, it's interesting. I feel bad for the ladies of Canada because when you import millions of single men from countries that are have like a, let's just say, a lower regard for women than here in Canada, you're gonna have problems, and I feel really bad. So this chick's talking about, has anyone else been noticing increasing sexual harassment from men in Vaughan this summer? I walked around every day just for some exercise and to enjoy the sunshine. Doing it since 2018, never had a problem until a few months ago. Now it's become normal for men to catcall from their cars, brush up against me, and I'm being approached, follow more often. Uber drivers saying something creepy more than half the time. Switch to a women's only gym because of men leering. Guys gather in groups around their cars and stare when we walk out. I get that it's a cultural difference. We're staring, but might not be considered rude, but where they're from. But when it's 10 guys and I'm alone, it's intimidating. It's not like I can report them for staring, but it feels scary and invasive, especially as a now daily occurrence. I have been touched every time I've been to Wonderland, really, or Vaughan Mills this summer. I'm getting to a point where I don't want to go to places because of it. I already dress very conservative, and I'm pushing 30. Has anyone also noticed this? Is there anything anyone can even do? Yeah, deport. And a lot of people say, oh, these women deserve it because, they voted for this stuff. And it's like, even if some of them deserve it because they're flaming liberals, it's still something we need to stop. Like, women shouldn't have to be put through this stuff in Canada. I get it, if you go to different countries, women are treated worse, not respected, but this shouldn't be happening here at all. I don't know, like, if we keep seeing that, you might have some, like, other guys coming in, like, let's say there's like 10 guys sitting by a pool watching the girls swim, or at the beach. It's like, something's gonna happen. It won't be pretty, but I feel bad for the ladies. Shouldn't have to go through that. We gotta deport all these dudes. Okay. Yeah. Our public safety minister. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets shuffled out of cabinet, because he just looks like a deer in the headlights every time. Yeah, Canada's screwed. Big troubles. And not only that, so I'm gonna end it off with this, because I used to work here at Joe Cool's. Something happened there, apparently. So this isn't an Indian thing. It's more of a white thing, but it's more like a white crackhead thing. So downtowns and businesses are basically getting just downtowns across Ontario, and businesses are getting just totally harassed, sometimes broken into by, and sometimes stabbed. People stabbed. Just by crackheads and just mentally disturbed people roaming the streets. So this is a London bar manager recovering after 1 week after being stabbed. Joe Cool's, a very popular place in London, Ontario. I used to work there. He was stabbed in the parking lot behind the restaurant. I used to hang out there all the time because I worked in the kitchen, and that's where the back door is. Okay. He went out back to ask a man loitering by the back door to leave. That's when the man allegedly pulled a knife and slashed him just under his armpit. Then the man took off on a scooter. As a result of the investigation, Leslie Jacob James Dental Beck. That's kind of name. London arrested and charged with aggravated assault and breach of probation. So they're basically these, repeat offender kind of crackheads roaming the streets. We have them in Sarnia too. And they're basically disrupting all these small businesses and breaking into them, breaking into cars of customers, basically hurting business. Today I was at the family restaurant there today in the morning, and they had to kick out a couple who were trying to smash in the washroom, and they get all rowdy and stuff. And that's another issue with Canada. It's like we're flooded with third world immigration that's really overloading our system and destroying kind of the culture of Canada, but also we got our own population all whacked out on drugs. So it's just a bad situation all around. So hopefully things get better. As bad as the dirty air here. Anyway, those were the topics of the discussion today. We'll see what happens with let's see what more crimes will show up on our immigration crime blotter. Burning brides, that's a new one. Every day there's a new one. So the next broadcast will be Friday, July 18th. Yes. We'll see where everything is. See what the day's topics are then. So until then, everybody have a nice middle of the week and try and stay cool. Thank you.